Well, everyone, it's time for us to go and take a look at the Samsung Galaxy S23 and compare it against the iPhone 13 and see which specific phone you should go and pick up. Now, if you want to pick up either one of these devices, links will be down in the description. You can get them from there and you can help support the channel at the same time. Now, starting off, both these phones are very interesting. The Samsung Galaxy S23 is the latest and greatest phone from Samsung. The iPhone 13 is an older base model. Like both these phones were, I guess, kind of the same caliber, but the iPhone 13 came out almost 2 years ago in 2021. So it's going to be very interesting to see how these two compare. Now, in the front, the iPhone 13 has a 6.1-inch Super Retina XDR OLED display. Now, overall, I do think it's a pretty decent panel. Unfortunately, it's a 60 hertz panel, which is not that big of a deal. But the bigger deal probably is that notch up top. I don't know why I have so many apps, but I don't know why the notch, is still here on the iPhone 14s. I feel like Apple should go ahead and remove them. That's one of the biggest advantages for getting some other phone. But otherwise, it's still a very good looking phone. Still is very premium. It doesn't feel cheap at all. And I think it still looks pretty good overall. Now, on the Samsung Galaxy S23, it is a little bit of, it's the same exact size, so it's a 6.1-inch dynamic AMOLED display. Now on this specific phone, you are actually getting a 120 hertz display, which is really nice, and that's the kind of stuff that I love the most. On top of that, it's a hole punch display. So you are going from a notch on the iPhone 13 now to a hole punch display, and that is some really cool stuff. Personally, for me, like I've mentioned many times, and that is the type of stuff that I love. Unfortunately, you are not getting that on the iPhone 13, but you're getting it on the Galaxy S23, and that's why I think the Galaxy S23 has a better looking display. Now on the sides, very interesting, we kind of are getting like almost like a flat side on the Galaxy S23. The iPhone 13 is completely flat. So if we're just looking at it from that perspective, you are getting an overall, I would say, I like the feeling more of the iPhone 13 more than the Galaxy S23, but it's not a big deal. Now on the back of these phones, this is a pretty big difference if you ask me. So here we're getting a triple camera setup on the Galaxy S23, iPhone 13 a dual camera setup, but you can see immediately that the camera modules are completely different. So one, it's lined up here where these ones are diagonal, but on top of that, the even bigger thing, I guess my camera's kind of scratched up. And the even bigger thing, you do kind of have like a camera bump on the back of the iPhone 13, where in the Galaxy S23 you have the camera lenses that protrude. Now personally for me, I think both these are more similar than not, but I look back at the Galaxy S22, and with that camera module protruding with a lens on the back that's protecting the lenses, I like that a lot more. If you drop both these phones, chances are you're going to crack these backs, and I have a lot of iPhones with cracked camera lenses. With my Galaxy S22s, it's a little bit harder to do that because, there is a lens that's kind of protecting it. Here, I feel like these are more fragile, but I guess they're more similar in that way. You also have glass backs, but you have the standard glass back on the iPhone 13. The Galaxy S23 actually has this frosted glass back, which feels very premium. So that kind of stuff feels very good. You're getting wireless charging on both. You are getting reverse wireless charging on the Galaxy S23, which is amazing. But you're also getting IP certification between both as well, which is really nice. So in terms of that, that kind of covers up everything on the outside. Now, in terms of software and the longevity, this is probably going to be a very interesting thing. So even though the iPhone 13 is kind of pushing through 2 years old this year, it's very interesting because the iPhone 13 is probably going to last as long as the Galaxy S23. Now, there's lots of things that can change. That could very well change next week, who knows? But I definitely do think that both these phones are going to be lasting around the same time. So I wouldn't go from one phone to the other just based off like how long the phone's going to last. I definitely do think that the Galaxy S23 is still going to be lasting for quite a bit of time, so nothing's really going to matter there. But really, you're comparing Android and iOS. Which one do you prefer? You can go down that direction. Now let's do a speed comparison between both these phones. The Galaxy S23 has that new Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 chipset inside with 8 gigabytes of RAM, where the iPhone 13 has that Apple A15 Bionic chip inside of it with 4 gigabytes of RAM. So let's go and see which one is the faster one between both. Okay, there we go. All the apps are cleared out in the background, so let us get into it. Let's do phone calls, 3, 2, 1. Okay, about the same thing. Let's go ahead and get into camera, 3, 2, 1. Okay, about the same thing, not a big difference. Let's go and take a photo between both, 3, 2, 1. They're both on night mode. Let's see how long it takes to take a photo. Night mode was quicker on the Galaxy S23 than on the iPhone 13. Let's go and open up the photo here. It was a little bit quicker on the Galaxy S23. Let's go and hop out of the photo. Kind of roughly around the same thing. Let's go into their App Store, 3, 2, 1. Now, one thing I want to demonstrate again, 120 hertz here, 60 hertz here. So it's going to take a little bit of time for the iPhone 13 to open. it was on a different display, we'll kind of let that one go. But if you scroll through, you can kind of see that even with, and I've seen this so many times, even with a 120 hertz panel on the S23, it doesn't seem that much smoother than that 60 hertz. Like, to be honest, like iOS is very smooth and very well optimized. It's kind of hard to tell over the camera, but you can tell in real life how smooth the iPhone 13 is, and as well as how much smoother I guess the Galaxy S23 is, but it's very close. Now, I do have some of these third-party applications we can go and open. So let's try Twitter, 3, 2, 1. Okay, Galaxy S23 was kind of faster there. Let's try Temple Run 2, 3, 2, 1. No, I think there's going to be a pop-up, I knew it. So we'll give this one like a second or two leeway. Even then, I think the Galaxy S23 would have opened it up faster. So just, again, one of those things to kind of keep in mind. Beyond all these things, though, let's go and click here. Let's click here. Let's go and get into some gameplay. 3, 2, 1. And I don't think there's going to be that big of a difference, but sometimes you'd be able to tell some glitches and whatnot. So far, they both look pretty good, so there doesn't really seem to be that big of a difference here. Let's go and hop out of this one. Let's go ahead and do stack. 3, 2, 1. Okay. I guess the Galaxy S23 was noticeably faster there as well. Hopping out of this one, let's go ahead and get into snake versus blocks. 3, 2, 1. And again, the Galaxy S23 is the faster one. iPhone 13 a little bit behind. Let's get into some gameplay, and I think they're going to be roughly around the same as well. Let's go and hop out of here. So we'll get into Netflix. 3, 2, 1. Again, the Galaxy S23 would be the faster one there. So I was logged into Snapchat, so we'll just kind of let that one go. And that kind of covers up a majority of them. Quizlet, 3, 2, 1. I think for the most part, the Galaxy S23 is probably the faster one. Genshin Impact 3, 2, 1. I think the S23 is probably the faster one. I think the iPhone 13 is still plenty fast, but I definitely do think when it comes down to both of these, the Galaxy S23 is probably the one that I would say is the faster one, although sometimes the iPhone 13 could potentially be the faster one here and there, like in this case, for example. So, in terms, well, not even, because this one kind of took longer, so that kind of covers it up there. Now, in the camera department, I will definitely tell you, both these phones are very good, but from my experience, the Samsungs, like I've always stated, are always seem to be better for me than the iPhones of that year. So on the back, we have a triple camera setup, wide ultra-wide telephoto lens on the S23, but a wide angle and ultra-wide camera on the iPhone 13. Both can do 4K at 60 on the front and the back. The Galaxy S23, though, can do 8K on the back, which is pretty wild. So that in and of itself probably shows you where exactly what I'm going for. With this type of camera, I would say for a majority of the average person out there, including myself, the iPhone 13's camera still is very good. I don't feel like I would miss out too much not having that telephoto lens, but it is always nice to have that type of capability. I do use my ultra-wide sensor more, but I also zoom in a lot, so I prefer having that type of zooming in capability here. You do have video mode, cinematic mode, slow-mo mode, time-lapse. You have portrait mode and panorama mode as well. So this is some really good stuff that you have on this type of device, which is really cool. I will tell you though, with the newer phone like the Galaxy S23, having the 8K capability is really cool. But I would say on top of that, you are getting a very solid camera from something like the Galaxy S23. I mean, like I mentioned, you're getting that 30x zoom, which is wild. You're getting 0.6x zoom on the outside, which is also really nice. And those are just some pretty big things to keep in mind. I think when it comes down to it, I mean, you're getting more options and more modes on the Galaxy S23 as well that you can see right here. And that's just been one thing to kind of keep in mind. So the S23, I would say, probably has the better camera. But in, even applications like Snapchat and whatnot, those are more optimized on iPhones from what I've seen. So to kind of sum up this video, what I'll tell you is, I definitely do think that the Galaxy S23 is more of a flagship, like I've stated for many, many years now. But the iPhone 13 doesn't cost the same as the Galaxy S23 in the used market. Even on Apple's brand new website, it's $599 or something. It's not that much to pay for a phone of this caliber. It's a very good phone, has a pretty good build quality, pretty decent display, very good performance still, and it's still going to be lasting probably as long as the Galaxy S23. The S23, you're getting a better display, kind of better performance. You have more applications kind of that you can choose from in the third-party stores and whatnot. The camera is better. And maybe the battery life is better here and there, but I definitely do think that the iPhone 13 might be a better value per dollar, but the Galaxy S23 is a very solid phone as well. So in terms of that kind of covers it up there. If you have any other thoughts or questions, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.